And welcome back to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera. Before we close it out, thanks again to Canada Soccer President Steve Reed, Peter Galindo of Sportsnet, Christian Jack of TSN. Thanks to all you for taking part. Really, really appreciate it. But hey, before we let you go, I want to get something off my chest, and it's a message I want to send straight out to President of TFC Bill Manning, GM Tim Bazbachenko, and head coach Greg Vanney. And here's my message. I bleed red. Born and raised here in Canada. Love my country. My kids were born here. I will die a Canadian. I will do everything I can for the Canadian player, the Canadian coach, the Canadian administrator. I've always said that. I fought hard, day in and day out, for the Canadian Premier League. I will never stop until we kick off that first game. And I will continue on for an opportunity for our players to play, our coaches to coach, our administrators to work in. But I've always said this. Thank you to the Montreal Impact, Vancouver Whitecaps, and especially TFC for giving the opportunity to Canadian players, Canadian coaches in their system, Canadian administrators. Thank you. You have given them the opportunity, and we thank you. I thank you. But I've said this time and time again, and I'm going to state it here once and for all again. It's not up to TFC or any of the 3 Canadian MLS teams to be forced to play Canadian players or forced to have Canadian coaches on the bench. I believe Canadian players have to earn that right. They have to beat out Americans, South Americans, Europeans, you name it. They have to want to do everything in their power to earn that spot, to be in that starting lineup, or to be on that bench. They shouldn't have to be guilted in to be given that spot because they're a Canadian. I've said this time and time again. Tim Bazbachenko, Greg Vanney, you guys have always shown the respect and courage to play Canadians, to sign Canadians, and you believed in them. Bill Manning, since the time you've arrived here in the city of Toronto, you've done a lot in the youth and the grassroots area in trying to build a professional relationship to connect with youth clubs, coaches, and players because you believe in that. But Bill and I have had this conversation, and I agree with Bill. And I will die a proud Canadian, but I agree with him here. And here's where I agree with him. Because last night in the press box and on Twitter, a lot more on Twitter, but on the press box at halftime, I got taken to task big time by a couple guys outside there, outside of the press box on the ledge to get some air, saying, Anthony, how can he take out 2 Canadians in this Canadian championship and Ricketts and Osorio? Why would he do this? Why would Greg Vanney do this? So I took a deep breath and I said to him, hold on a second here. Did you watch that first half? Because I did. And I don't think, to be quite honest, that Jonathan Osorio played as best as he could. He wasn't having a good game. He needed to take a seat on the bench. Toussaint Ricketts was okay. He missed a sitter and has been pretty good ever since he signed here. But he wasn't having his best half either. It was time to bring in 2 other players. Whether they were American or not, I could care less. And so what I said to these 2 guys and to the people out on Twitter is simply this. Just because they're Canadians doesn't mean that they should be given the job and that they should be given the full 90 minutes, even if they're struggling and they're not playing well. No, that's not what I believe in. And Bill and I have spoken about this. If you're good enough and you can play a full 90, Canadian or not, you deserve to play. Now, if it comes down to a Canadian and let's say an American or a South American, and the Canadian starts and he's not playing that good, and you need to win because this is a winning business and there's big bucks involved here, you need to go with the player that you believe will help you out at that time and that moment in the game. It's as simple as that. Throughout the rest of the stuff, whether they're Canadian or not, I'm the fiercest guy to fight for the Canadian player and coaches. You know that. But let's be honest. If you can't handle the heat in the kitchen, Canadians, you need to get out. So this is why we have the Canadian Premier League, for you to handle the heat in the kitchen for a full 90. And when you handle that heat in that kitchen continuously week in and week out, then you can go play in Europe full time. You can go play in MLS and earn a spot full time. But until then, hey, look, I'll fight for you. I'll go to bat for you. I'll make sure that I get the respect that you deserve and you need. But if you're not performing, Canadian or not, I'm sorry. I got to call a spade a spade. You got to sit and you got to think of the team and the team first. So to you, Greg, to you, Tim, to you, Bill, hey, no ill will whatsoever. You need to do what you need to do for your club, for your franchise, for your ownership group, and for your fans. That's understood. That's common sense. That's reality. And that's why Canadians need to understand that a league of our own, the CPL, is so important. So they can build on confidence. They can build on week in and week out and playing. And then they can get to that next level. Well, they don't have to look and be worried about being replaced if they're not having a good game. But if they're not having a good game, I understand guys like Coach Greg Vanney or the GM and wanting to win and bringing in players or making changes to go for the win. Absolutely, I understand. That's life. That's business. That's the way it has to be. Simple as that. Again, thanks to my producer, Jordan, Caprice Jordan. Thanks so much for the work behind the scenes that you have done. Canada, happy birthday. Happy birthday, the country that I love. The country that my sons were born in and my wife. The country that I will always call mine. Happy birthday, 150 years old. I get emotional because this country means so much to me. It's given so much to me and my family. We love this game. We can joke about this game. We can talk about the pros and cons. We can dissect it all we want in this country. But something we can all agree on is this is the greatest country in the world. Happy birthday, Canada. Good night.